Laws and Policies That Affect Teaching by Linda Lozoya. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination for race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. After the Civil War in 1861 through 1865, slavery was abolished and former slaves now had rights like citizens, such as the right to vote. However, many states still resisted and made it difficult for African Americans to exercise their rights by imposing poll taxes, literacy tests, and Jim Crow laws. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson on July 2, 1964. According to the U.S. Department of Education, it represents a national commitment to end discrimination in education. Those that were excluded, such as minorities, now have the right to develop their abilities. By removing racial barriers, minorities, women, those with disabilities, and the elderly can get a quality education. Here are some facts about how the Civil Rights Act of 1964 has impacted education. The dropout rate for African American students aged 16 through 24 declined from 20.5% in 1976 to 13% in 1996. The total minority enrollment in colleges and universities increased 61% between fall of 1986 and fall of 1996. Also today, we see more women entering career fields that were dominated by men. For example, in 1972, women earned 1% of professional dental degrees. In 1996, women received 36%. So how does this affect schools and teachers? It removes many barriers, such as segregation and discrimination, which allows everyone to have access to a quality education. Educators have to be aware of the diversity in the classroom and be sensitive to student needs. The teacher has to consider the differences and create an environment where everyone can learn. The second law that has impacted education in the USA is the No Child Left Behind, also known as the NCLB. The NCLB came into place in 2001 by the George W. Bush administration. It introduced national standards to a system where certain demographic groups were more likely to succeed than others. The NCLB affects what will be taught, what tests will be given, teacher training, and how money is spent on education. The NCLB attempts to improve academic achievement by holding schools accountable, empowering parents, and closing the achievement gap. Although it's meant to improve education, many see it as a bully and question whether this one-size-fits-all attempt will work. There are those who believe that testing is overemphasized and that there isn't enough money. The NCLB affects schools and teachers for several reasons. Number one, teachers now have to be highly qualified to teach, which means having a bachelor degree and a license to teach. Number two, teachers now have less freedom concerning what and how to teach, in addition to administering more testing. Number three, as a teacher, you have to ensure that all kids are making satisfactory progress and are being serviced. The third and final law is the Individual with Disabilities Education Act of 2004. This law brought awareness to provide educational services to kids with disabilities from the time they are born until they graduate. In 1975, over 1 million kids with disabilities were excluded from public school, while 4 million in school did not receive any services. Today, 5.6 million kids are served under the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. Because of this law, schools in the nation are required to serve children with special needs. This includes servicing kids with learning disabilities and physical handicaps. This means that rather than waiting for a kid to fail to give them the help, now, as soon as they see a struggle, an intervention can be done for the child. This demonstrates the importance of differentiating class instruction to make sure all kids learn and have a fair chance in education.